Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Quatre update for our NashCon event that we'll be running in June. Okay, I promise that I've been telling you every time that we have some kind of exciting update or change to the plans, or if I've completed some projects, to let you know exactly how far along we are. Okay, since the last video, I was able to finish my Jagers. These are the Dutch Jagers, as well as I think I talked about finishing the Belgian line infantry, but I don't think I did the money shot on these guys. I don't think I got close to these guys. And I also talked about finishing the cuirassier, and I don't think I got a good close-up shot for you to see what they look like. So we're going to make sure that we get the money shots on the Belgian Jagers, which are finished, or actually they're the Dutch Jagers, the Belgian line, as well as 2 units cuirassier. Adam came over this Saturday, and he helped me. I started showing him how to paint, and he got started painting the Brunswick Uhlans, right? These guys are actually very close to being finished. I could knock those out in just a couple hours probably. They would be done. But I've set them off to the side because I was working on the Jagers. Okay, so I started with the British line. These guys here that are primed black, that's actually 4 British line units. 16 figures each. I primed them. They're ready to go. But first, you have to assemble these, because these are mostly Perry miniatures. They're either Perry or they're Warlord Games. And both of those, or there's actually a few pewters in there as well from Perry, but they you have to assemble them. It takes forever. Okay, so because you got to put the left arm on, you got to put the right arm on, you got to put the head on, you got to put the backpack on, you got to put the on some of them you got to put a sword on them. Some of them you got to glue the standards in there, or the sergeant's spear, or the drum comes in 2 halves. You got to glue them together, and yeah. So that took a day just to assemble those and get them primed. Then I took another 2 days to assemble, actually it might have been 3 days, to assemble these Scots units. I have 3 Scottish units with kilts and all that right here. Now Mike wants to take the 42nd Black Watch, and he wants to paint those guys up. And I've got the other 2, which I think are Gordon and Cornwall or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the other 2 are. The 73rd and the I don't remember. 69th? I mean, I don't remember. So I'll be painting these at pretty much at the same time I'm painting the British, because they're all wearing red jackets, you know, and gray pants, flesh for legs. When I get to the Tarletons, you know, the kilts, it'll be, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm going to let him paint 1 unit of Highlanders, because he's really into Highlanders and he wants to do that, and that's cool. Okay, so those are the figures that we've got. Now there's a couple of other projects that I have going on at the same time. Okay, I've got trees. You can see a smattering of trees here, and if you look up on that shelf right there, you're going to see more trees right there. I was able to pick up these inch and a half washers, right? They're circles. These trees used to be based on very thin, square steel plates, right? And they didn't have a whole lot of weight, and you could knock the trees over pretty easily. Specifically, the tall pines. The tall pines on those little plates would twink, just fall over all the time, and they just wouldn't sit very well. And I've always wanted to convert them over to round bases, which I just went ahead and got some washers and started gluing the trees onto these washers. Because these washers have this 5/8 inch hole in the middle, on these there's no problem because the base of the tree actually is bigger than the hole, so it covers the hole entirely. That's fine. But the pine trees don't even have a base, they just have a trunk, right? And so the trunk would go through the hole. It would have been no problem. So what I did was I put a piece of tape underneath the washer, so it was actually on a piece of tape, and then in the hole I filled it with some caulk. Okay, so when the caulk dries, I can peel it off the tape and the caulk will still be inside that hole. I might just leave the tape on it and just cut around the circle. That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the tape on it just to give it a little extra support on the bottom. And then I'm going to flock them and they'll be rocking and rolling. And these washers actually have quite a bit of weight to them, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something with a lot of weight so you weren't going to tip the trees over. Okay, so that's a project that I'm working on right now. Oh, the tutorials. I had worked all the way up to what we've done. We did the, I think I've done like 6 tutorials. So we've got the building your armies, organizing them into brigades, how to give orders, which also includes how to move your troops, and then you have shooting, you have hand-to-hand, and now we have break tests and what does shaken do to you. So shaken and break tests, that's the latest one I just uploaded. The next one is going to be some advanced rules and some unit special characteristics and things like that. There's still probably about another 6 tutorials to go, but they're very specific to what I'll be talking about, like commanders or terrain or special abilities for units, things like that. So that's the next tutorials. Now, I think I mentioned that my parry order was split into 2 boxes, and I got 1 box in, and I was wondered why I didn't get my second box, and it did come in like 4 days later. I did get my second box. It had everything. The order was complete, but I am still waiting on those Belgian militia line troops, the Belgian militia musketeers. I'm still looking for those because I can't do the militia until that happens. And that's one of the reasons why I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and dive in on the British. That's going to take that's probably going to take a week for me to do those 7 units. I'll get those knocked out and maybe do those in the meantime. And then maybe I'll get my militia in. Okay, a couple of things. We got the terrain mat. It's finished. I just need to maybe go through and do some touch-ups on the river because I noticed some of the blue was kind of when I folded it up the very first time, the blue stuck together, and when I peeled it off, some of the blue came off. So it looks like I do need to paint it and let it completely dry before I fold it up. And when I fold it up, not to fold it up with the paint against the paint. Paint against the flock seemed to have no problem, but once the paint and the paint touched, it was like glue. I don't know what I'm going to do about walls and hedges. I have a bunch of cork that I just bought for walls. I think I'm going to do some walls. I've got fencing material. I think I'm going to do a bunch of fences. And what I've been thinking about doing is on some of these buildings that I might consider them to be a little bit too big. To scale, no. But remember, these guys don't represent individual soldiers. This represents a mob of soldiers. So the buildings that are that big, that doesn't represent just one building. That represents like a a city block or something like that. So what I think I need to do is make my buildings a little bit smaller, not scale wise, but just like square footage of the house. Maybe make it a little bit less, and then put it on a stand, maybe an 8 or a 12-inch stand to represent the city block. And then that way, when I put figures in, I don't necessarily have to put them in the building. I could just put them on the city block stand. And if I do that, then I could put like little fences around or hedges around or walls around the city block, so on the actual city block tile, so that it would look like a little diorama. But I'm gonna wait on that. That might be after Quatre. That's just something that I've been thinking about. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out and checking out this video. And next time I do an update, I'll let you know how far along on the British that I've gotten, and if I've gotten anything up on the Uhlans. You're going to get a close-up after this one point. I'm going to give you a close-up on these 4 units, and I do want to give you a figure count. I do have the chasseurs up there just started, maybe flesh. They've been like that for a couple of weeks. Okay, so we got 3 French lights, 1, 2, 3. A French line, 4. These 4 units, obviously, that's 8. All 4 of the Brunswickers, that's 12, right? And a British line infantry, that's 13. Okay, so I got 13 units finished and 7 more units here, 8 more, if you count this, 8 more units, 9, 10 units started and not completed. So, but I do anticipate getting those done in a week. All right, well, let's get these close-ups, and I'll catch you next time.